This is a message of the students in the American Embassy of Tehran. We are not against the people of the USA. We are against of the United States policy in Iran.
On November 4, 1979, 52 American diplomats and citizens were taken hostage in the United States Embassy in Tehran, Iran. The crisis had reached a climax after diplomatic negotiations failed to secure the release of the hostages. It was during the Security Council meeting of 11th of April that Carter confirmed that he had authorized the mission. The rescue mission was codenamed Operation Eagle Claw. The operation, one of Delta Force's first, encountered many obstacles and failures and was subsequently aborted. 8 helicopters were sent to the first staging area called Desert 1, but only 5 arrived in operational condition. In the context of the Iranian Revolution, Iran's new leader, Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, stated that the mission had been stopped by an act of God. The complex plan required that on the first night, 3 EC-130s carrying the logistical supplies and 3 MC-130 combat Talons carrying Delta Force and Ranger troops would depart the island of Masira. Helicopters and C-130 aircraft, following different routes, would meet on Assault Flat codenamed Desert 1 320 km southeast of Tehran, a flight of over 1,600 kilometers. Desert 1 would be secured by a protection force, and once secured, a refueling area would be established for the helicopters. 8 United States Navy helicopters were positioned aboard USS Nimitz, 60 miles off the coast of Iran. The helicopters would fly 970 kilometers to Desert 1, refuel, load up the Delta Force and part of the Ranger teams, and then fly 420 kilometers further to Desert 2. The operation was further to be supported by an in-country CIA team. Because it would be close to morning, the helicopters and ground forces would hide during the day at Desert 2. The rescue operation would take place the second night. First, CIA agents who were already inside Iran would bring trucks they had sourced to Desert 2. Together, the CIA officers and ground forces would then drive from Desert 2 into Tehran. This assault team would assault the embassy and foreign affairs building, eliminate the guards, and rescue the hostages, with air support from Air Force AC-130 gunships flying from Desert 1. The hostages and rescue team would then meet with the helicopters which had flown from Desert 2 to the nearby Mjda Stadium, where the rescue teams and the freed hostages would board the helicopters. In parallel to the rescue, an Army Ranger company would capture the abandoned Mansouriye Air Base near Tehran to allow 2 C-141 Starlifters flying from Saudi Arabia to arrive. With the Rangers holding the airport, the helicopters would bring everyone from the stadium to the Mansouriye Air Base, where the C-141s would fly everyone back to an airbase in Egypt. Army Major General James B. Vaught was appointed as Joint Task Force Commander. Only the delivery of the soldiers, equipment, and fuel by the C-130 aircraft went according to plan. MC-130 landed at Desert 1 at 10:45 p.m. local time. Soon after the first crews landed and began securing Desert 1, a civilian Iranian bus with a driver and 43 passengers was stopped while traveling on the road, which now served as the runway for the aircraft. The bus was forced to halt by the Rangers and the passengers were detained aboard. Minutes after the bus had been stopped, the Rangers in the road watch team observed a fuel tanker truck, ignoring their orders to halt, bearing down on them. The truck, apparently smuggling fuel, was blown up by the Army Ranger roadblock team as it tried to escape the site. The truck's passenger was killed, but the driver managed to escape in an accompanying pickup truck. As the tanker truck was thought to be engaged in clandestine smuggling, the driver was not considered to pose a security threat to the mission. From the 8 helicopters, only 6 of them reached to Desert 1, 50 to 90 minutes behind schedule. One of the helicopters arrived last at Desert 1 at 1 o'clock with a malfunctioning secondary hydraulic system, leaving only one hydraulic system to control the aircraft. With only 5 fully serviceable helicopters now remaining to transport the men and equipment to Desert 2, the various commanders reached a stalemate. After 2.5 hours on the ground, and communicating with the president, finally, the mission aborted. While one of the helicopters was trying to land near an EC-130s to refuel, it crashed with its wing root and a big explosion happened. In the ensuing explosion and fire, 8 servicemen died. After the crash, it was decided to abandon the helicopters. The helicopter crews boarded the EC-130s. 5 helicopters were left behind at Desert 1 mostly intact. They could not be destroyed, because they were loaded with ammunition and any fire or explosion would have endangered the planes. The EC-130s carried the remaining forces back to the intermediate airfield at Masira Island, where 2 C-141 medical evacuation aircraft picked up the injured personnel, helicopter crews, rangers, and Delta Force members, and returned to Egypt. The following day, after learning about the events at Desert 1 from the local Iranian news, the Tehran CIA team quietly left Iran, with the Iranians unaware of their presence. The White House announced the failed rescue operation at 1 a.m. the following day. Iranian army investigators found 9 bodies, 8 Americans, and 1 Iranian civilian. The American bodies were later returned to the United States. President Carter continued to attempt to secure the hostages' release before his presidency's end. On January 20, 1981, minutes after Carter's term ended, the 52 U.S. captives held in Iran were released, ending the 444-day Iran hostage crisis.